Now on to dogs galore, some 14,000 in fact, groomed to look their best for the world's most coveted award at Crufts 89.
As many people will know by now, this year's Crufts was won by the bearded collie Cassie, and it was hugs all round for her and owner Brenda White at the decision. Well, she beat 14,000 other entries and is now the best-known dog in Britain. Hello and welcome to Dogs Galore, our roundup of the major highlights from Crufts 89. Of course, there can only ever be one supreme champion at Crufts, and that means that this year 14,004 dogs and their owners left disappointed.
Well, that being the case, we've decided that in this programme we should concentrate on some of those dogs which failed to make it to the final 6 or 8 in their group judging. Bear in mind, though, they're all first-class dogs, because the qualification standard just to get here is enormously high. What sort of chance do you think they have?
Well, I'm only a novice, so not a lot. I'm not an established breeder, so I've only been breeding collies for about 3 years, so I think I've done well, really, to get 2 to come.
You're not going to win with these two?
No.
That's definite?
Yeah, definite, yes.
What sort of chance do you think he's got?
Not a lot. He's very young. He's only 13 months. So there are a lot better Maremas than he, I have to be honest. But I'd like to think it's his chance. You know, he's qualified, so I'll give it a go.
Well, like everybody else, I'm one of those, I'm really an obedience person and an obedience judge. And I look at it on this. If I don't win, okay. If I do win, it's a bonus.
Well, Mike Stockman has been guiding us through the group judging, but this year he's been wearing another very important hat, that of chairman of the Crufts committee. Michael, it's your first year as chairman. Have you enjoyed it?
Oh, tremendous. I mean, hectic, yes, but, oh, simply superb. And it's nice to get in amongst dog people and chat to them, go round the rings, see the judges. It's my sort of scene. We've been able to make a few changes, like the stand down there, the Kennel Club stand. As you come in, you've got a welcome. And that's how it's got to be.
So obviously you think it's terribly important for the chairman to have hands-on.
Oh, good grief, yes. I mean, somebody's got to carry the can back, and why shouldn't I?
The judging at Crufts starts off in rings like the one behind me, 28 of them dotted around this huge hall. It's where the dogs of a particular breed come along, all to be judged against the same standard. Of course, the best one wins in each breed. It's great fun seeing all the different types of animal that are around. On any one day, you may see the hounds and terriers, or the working dogs. On the Saturday, a great crowd puller with the toys and utilities. And this year, the final day of the show has the gun dogs. Pick your own favourites. For me, the Samoyed, wonderful. And what about this one, the Tibetan Mastiff? Another dog I was familiar with before this time. They've been here before, and they're nice. Obviously, the best one, as I've said, does win the breed, and then goes on to the main ring to be judged against the rest of the group.
And we're about to see the first of those dogs who've been so successful in those outer rings as the terriers come into the main arena for the first of the group judging. There were 23 breed winners in this group, and this is the dog that's beaten everything this year. Champion Olak Moon Pilot, a West Highland White. Top winning dog of all breeds throughout 1988.
He's a very active little fellow, this. An immensely popular breed, and this one's got all the spirit and appeal of the best of them. Heavy brows and sparkling eyes give him a piercing look, and the crowd really got behind him. And I must say, I thought he was in with a real chance.
There were 62 Kerry Blues at Crufts, and champion Norjohn's Piccadilly at Brenlath made it to the main arena.
Look at that lovely long head. This is a breed, of course, that comes from Ireland, and the temperament clause in the breed standard is lovely. It just calls for disciplined gameness, and that really says it all. The coat is soft and silky and plentiful.
Sealyham Terriers in the far and distant past were used for badger digging. Luckily, they're out of a job these days. This one is champion Top Stage Canada Dry.
You know, Angela, I can never understand why this super smart terrier is not more popular these days. He's game, he's fearless as they come, but he's very friendly, unusual as a terrier because he hunts in packs.
The Airedale is the biggest of the terriers. This one is being shown by Mrs. Averis, who's a member of a very well-known Airedale family. It's champion Sarden the jazz singer.
He really gives the impression that he knew he was the greatest with that aristocratic head and that clean neck. His legs are straight and remarkably small, compact feet to give him powerful, brisk movement. No wonder he's the king.
Now, a dog that should be put together to look like a weight-carrying hunter in the horse world is the Smooth Fox Terrier. This one is champion Tamarisha Untouchable.
Yes, for such a small dog, he really seems to cover a very great deal of ground. And doesn't that look lovely? Never cloddy, never coarse.
The Norwich Terrier, identifiable to a layman like me from its very close cousin, the Norfolk, by its ears. The Norfolk, it seems, has flat ears, like the countryside, but the Norwich, well, they're perked, like the spire of Norwich Cathedral. Champion Elv the Sorcerer, this one.
This is a lovely little breed, very capable of going to ground. Got a hard class coat and a real multi-purpose dog.
The judge in this group, Maurice Marshall, has been a terrier man for 40 years or more, and he's pulled out 6 for a closer look. He's chosen the Bedlington, also the Border Terrier, who was reserve champion at last year's Crufts, the wire-haired Fox Terrier, which is the judge's own favourite breed, the Scottie, the Staffordshire Bull Terrier, and the Welsh Terrier. Mike, a very tense moment for the judge. Each dog so good but so different.
Oh, yes, lovely, lovely bunch of terriers, these.
And it's the Staffy that takes the group. Well, his fan club will be absolutely delighted. So's the dog by the look of him. Ben Light Dark Huntsman, or Digger. And the reserve goes to the Scottish Terrier, champion Tamsin Total Etiquette. You seem to have brought quite a fan club with you.
Yes, I have indeed. I suppose it's because Staffords are a very popular breed, but they very rarely do anything in the show ring much. I think this is the first time they've ever won a breed at Crufts, or a group at Crufts.
So how do you rate your chances on Sunday for the Supreme Championship?
Well, we're very superstitious, so we never rate our chances at all. And that way we're not disappointed.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
On the face of it, a Pharaoh Hound, a Finnish Spitz, Border Terrier, a miniature Bull Terrier and an Elk Hound don't have very much in common. But Leslie Scott-Ordish, they're all pro dogs. What does that mean?
They're all pro dogs, they're all pat dogs. They're all doing a useful community service, hopefully, by visiting elderly people in hospitals and homes that miss their dogs very much. Pro Dogs is a national charity, and as our name implies, we like dogs very much. We try to provide services for other people that like dogs very much, that may not have the chance of seeing them and patting them. And the great thing is that it's been shown to really do people good.
Genuine therapy.
It's real Pro Dogs active therapy, it is.
Now, here at Crufts, you're launching something rather special. It's called Walk Over Britain. What's that? What's that trying to do?
It's raising funds for pat dogs so that we can continue the service. We run on a shoestring budget, and Walk Over Britain is fun for everybody. No walk is longer than 2.5 miles, and there are 50 of them. Wherever people live, they can join in. Everybody gets free prizes, and they can get a free entry form, join in the fun. Celebrities at all walk points. We hope to see them all.
So now we come to the Hounds group. For me, one of the most interesting and varied of all the groups. Little Dachshunds, the real aristocrats, the Borzois and Salukis. Interestingly, the Basset Fauve de Bretagne. There are only 7 of those here, not even in their own separate classification, the Hound group.
It really is a lovely group, but as I was saying, what a variety. Big ones, small ones, some as big as your head. The judge for this group is Joan Wells Meacham, an absolute expert. She was involved, of course, with the Kennel Club's Breed Standards Committee. She's on that committee that lays down the standard for all the dogs that appear here at Crufts. But look at them. So big ones, getting bigger now. The largest of the lot, the Irish Wolfhound, followed by the Otterhound there, right the way down to the far end with the Saluki. So that's the group. And we're looking at one with a lovely name now. He's called McEnroe, the star player, but he doesn't bark. He doesn't make a noise much at all. He's a Basenji. Belongs to Miss Salvadori from Inverness.
No, in fact, he tends to yodel when he does make a noise. He's got very clean shape and slight wrinkle to his head, well chiselled in his short coupled body, that tightly curled tail.
This, I'm sure you'll recognise as a Beagle. Champion Torabahn Badger, 7.5-year-old dog owned by Mr. and Mrs. Dewhurst from Runcorn up in Cheshire.
And isn't this a sturdy, compact dog? They're very amiable breed with their mild, appealing eyes, but the snag is that obedience is not really their strong suit. If you let them off the lead, they're away because their nostrils work and their ears don't.
Well, these ears work. They hang forward, don't they? They're a bit floppy. This is a bloodhound, Nineveh's Mimosa of Chasedown, 2.5-year-old bitch owned by Mr. and Mrs. Richards from Heathfield in East Sussex.
A very dignified hound, possessed of one heck of a deep voice. This one's a pretty massive lass and wouldn't be the sort for the 3-bedroom semi because she needs room and exercise to keep her fit.
Well, Mrs. and Dr. Helps from Amersham own this champion Beardswood Amalia, which is a deerhound, a 3-year-old bitch.
It's a gentle, rough-coated hound, tenacious but utterly trustworthy. To me, it's always redolent of Harris Tweed and Misty Mountains and possibly a wee dram.
Another 3-year-old bitch here singing the blues at Solstrand is a greyhound owned by Mrs. Kennis from Horsham in West Sussex.
The show version of the greyhound is slightly larger than the racing machine, but it's really the prototype for all the hounds that hunt by sight, whatever their type. And this bitch has all the graces.
I first saw one of these in Ibiza way back in the 60s. An Ibizan hound, champion Comet's Tornado of Chohala, nearly 3 years old, owned by Mrs. Startup from Baldock in Hertfordshire. They look like white ghosts.
Yes, and it's characterised, of course, by its large, erect ears. It has very upright shoulders, which enable it to clear the garden fence from the standing position, and I know to my cost that they jolly well can too. What lovely clean lines this animal's got. Beautiful.
The aristocratic Saluki, a Shire Asala, a bitch almost 3 years old, owned by Mrs. Connolly from Redditch in Worcester.
Oh boy, they're just curves in every direction. They really are the most elegant breed, I think, of the whole lot, with this smooth, flowing action. Lovely.
So from this very exciting group, Judge Joan Wells Meacham picks out 9 that she really liked the look of: the miniature long-haired Dachshund, the standard wire-haired and the miniature wire-haired Dachshunds, the Whippet. She also liked the look of the Rhodesian Ridgeback, the Irish Wolfhound, the Borzoi, the Otterhound and the Elkhound. And for the best in group, she walked quite deliberately over to the Elkhound. Kestos Aderin, handled by her co-owner, Mr. Robert Lee of Sheffield. She's known as Aisha. She's a 16-month-old bitch. What a beauty, and aren't they pleased? And it was an emotional moment for Alan Sharman of Hitchin as his miniature long-haired Dachshund champion Southcliffe Starsky got the reserve.
Robert, would it be fair to say a bit of a turn-up for the book, this?
Unbelievable. I just cannot believe it. Unbelievable it is. You know, if I collapse here, you'll pick me up, won't you?
Certainly will. I mean, not only is it a surprise, I think everyone here was surprised as well, but delighted. Lovely hound.
Yes.
There hasn't been a hound winner, apart from Afghans, twice, since 1960. Now, what do you rate your chances now?
Just keep batting along and take each show as it comes along and each group as it comes along, and if it's there.
Because Crufts attracts so many animal lovers every year, it's an ideal location for people with a particular lobby to get support for their campaigns. And this year, there was some sterling work being done by students from both the Cambridge and Glasgow veterinary schools who are trying to prevent the government from closing them down.
In January of this year, the Riley Committee produced a report which suggested that to rationalise veterinary education in Britain, we should lose 2 of the 6 veterinary schools that we have. This means that we'd be catering for between 300 and 350 veterinary students a year in Great Britain. Last year, we imported 295 foreign veterinary students just to cope with the demand for veterinary surgeons in this country. With this increasing demand and with the particular public interest in matters of public health, for example, listeria and salmonella scares that have been going on recently, we feel that there is no reason to reduce the number of veterinary schools in this country.
And they gained 18,761 signatures in support. But it's March before they'll know the government's decision. Well, we now come to the largest group in the show, and that's for working dogs. And among the 43 separate breeds that are represented in this group, we're going to see some old friends like boxers and German shepherds, but also 1 or 2 less familiar dogs like the Lancashire Heelers and the Swedish Vallhunds. Well, there were 3,772 dogs in this group, and in the line up there, you've got the best of them. There are 4 types of Belgian shepherd dogs. This is the Groenendaal. It was used during World War I to find the wounded in the shell holes. Here we've got champion Leercott Diminuendo of Zelby.
All the Belgian shepherds are very striking, well-balanced dogs with this characteristic brisk trot which they can maintain forever. And this bitch is no exception at all. The varieties are named after the villages they come from.
A real chocolate box dog, this one, I think. They're lovely. It's a Bernese mountain dog, champion Shady Nordic Fire.
A very strongly built dog that's tending these days to get just a bit on the hefty side, but this one is really very well balanced. Markings are very striking with a symmetrical blaze on the head and a white cross on the front of his chest. Friendly and fearless, definitely one for the active household.
Now to a breed that originated in Flanders, the Bouvier des Flandres. Fina Cavalier, this one.
Calm, sensible sort of breed, but very powerful and a pretty effective guard. A native of Belgium, the standard actually asks that the coat be coarse and harsh and even unkempt, and that moustache and beard can be pretty forbidding.
A noble dog with a noble name, the Bull Mastiff, Saturn of Gracia. Just 17 months old, this dog. What a big baby.
He's powerful, isn't he? But he's a docile dog, but he can be very high spirit. And he was traditionally employed in the past as a poacher preventer. And I don't doubt that this one would be quite good at the job if he was invited. He's a lovely mover. They're not always quite as sound as this.
There were Maremma sheepdogs around 2,000 years ago. This one is owned by Mrs. Waits from Hitchin in Hertfordshire.
It's a lithe, majestic breed, hailing from Italy, where he has to be nimble because of the rough terrain in which he works. The withers are slightly above the level of the back, and there's that slight arch over the loins. A grand companion, but he really needs a lot of exercise.
Well, there's no barrel under the chin, but even without that, there's no mistaking this chap, the St. Bernard. Champion Bishopsway Moses of Wapload, best of 109 in the breed.
Because this is the actual Crufts logo in the flesh. Rich mahogany brindle or red brindle with white. A massive dog, steady, kind, benevolent, but perhaps they're getting almost too large.
Well, the official breed name of this dog is the Swedish Vallhund. I think he looks like a sort of Viking corgi. His name is Dramericans Axtane.
He's one of my personal favourites. They've lovely temperaments. They're sound little bodies, which is packed with muscle, but never coarse. A herding dog, so he might be a cousin of the corgi, but he's taller on the leg. Absolutely tireless and deserves his reputation as a family dog.
And now the Lancashire Heeler, quite a small entry of just 42 dogs at Crufts, reflecting perhaps the fact that it is really quite an exclusive little breed. This one is Tushy Law Clyde.
Yes, a low-set dog with great charm, a very happy nature. He works cattle professionally, but in his spare time he'll sort out the rats for you.
Well, out of that huge class, 9 dogs were lined up for the judge to take a closer look. The bearded collie, Cassie, was first in line. The judge also wanted to take another look at the Boxer, the Briard, a rough-coated dog from France, and the German Shepherd, which beat 187 dogs in its group. The Great Dane as well came out, and there was a Newfoundland, the Old English Sheepdog, a Rottweiler, and a Siberian Husky. Well, what a mammoth job for Judge Andrew Thompson. He showed his first dog when he was just 2.5 years old. But I tell you, you need a lifetime's experience when you're faced with a group of this size and quality. Well, he's put the boards in line. He's walking to the very end of the arena. And yes, the top working dog of the year does it again. Champion Potterdale Classic of Moonhill, the bearded collie, wins the group.
And it really is a classic. Is it any wonder that they're so popular? And what a reply to all the knockers who say that purebred dogs are neurotic, unhealthy and deformed.
And it's the Siberian Husky that takes the reserve. Owned by Miss Ali Coops from Holland, this dog's a champion sled dog as well. Brenda, you look very cool and calm, and Cassie looks as if she's been there before. Is that how you felt?
Maybe outwardly, but not inside. I mean, it was a wonderful group, a lot of hot competition, so we did our best and it turned out great. I can't believe it. I'm thrilled to bits.
And you have to come back on Sunday, do it again. What
yes.
do you think is going to happen then?
It's anybody's guess. There'll be no doubt 6 wonderful dogs in the final, so that'll be another hurdle to get over.
Between now and then, how are you going to prepare? Keep yourself and the dog calm?
Yes, but I shall go home. She'll have a nice walk tomorrow and just get tidied up again for Sunday. Just try and carry on as normal, but I expect the phone will be ringing. It'll be obviously great excitement. This is something that doesn't happen every day of one's life.
The main arena at Earl's Court is in use all day and every day with the Obedience Championships, with both individual dog and bitch and regional competitions. Now this year we concentrated our attention on the bitch competition of the first day, where Judge Karina Griffiths put the 30 competitors through their paces in the very difficult C-class tests. This one that you're looking at the moment, the send-away. In addition, the heel work, that requires total concentration over a long course involving movement at fast, slow and medium pace, numerous turns and so on. You're now looking at another exercise, distant control, and of course the retrieve. Now all of these exercises are performed in front of a massive audience in the hall with hundreds of distractions. Top quality work. And so is the control exercised over the dogs by their handlers in the agility competition. And you're going to take a look now at a perfect round executed by Kathy Bolton and her working sheepdog, Shimmer of Moonlight. They were one of the Kennel Club Junior organisation team in the heats. This is a brilliant performance, very fast. The dog doing everything right. You'll see coming down here, making contact with the yellow area. That's compulsory. Did nothing wrong at all. Unfortunately, in spite of this excellent effort, Kathy's team didn't make the finals, but you'll be able to see the very exciting final of this event, together with more highlights of the Obedience Championships in our special programme here on BBC Two next Sunday.
Well, if you haven't got a large garden or a large house, then probably a large dog is also out of the question. Hence, the toy group. Real companion dogs ranging from the classical King Charles Spaniel across to the exotic Bichon Frise, the toy group.
And this is the group that makes people go, ah, aren't they sweet? The judge is Ellis Hume from Lancashire. There's a great deal of responsibility here as he casts his eye over the whole of this group. Look at that lovely little Maltese, 1 foot in the air. They all have something attractive about them, these toy dogs. The Bichon Frise that I just mentioned, little Pomeranian there that Ellis Hume's casting his eye over. Smooth-haired Chihuahua. And of course the Yorkshire Terrier. You could be forgiven for thinking this is another Yorkie. It's actually a 3.5-year-old Australian Silkie, owned by Mrs. Semple of Worksop in Nottingham. She's called Bragan Jolly Swagman.
This wee fellow's no softy at all. He's a genuine ratter, produced originally from the Australian Terrier and the Yorkshire Terrier. He's got firm legs, really powerful thighs, and a chest of moderate breadth and depth. And he must move cleanly and straight, a friendly fella.
One of the smaller breed entries, just 30 of these English toy terriers. This is a 15-month-old bitch, Brynlithe Tanya, owned by Mr. and Mrs. Ellis Jones.
This is another genuine ratter, this time descended from the Manchester Terrier, who he resembles with his long, wedge-shaped head and those dark, sparkling eyes and those characteristic candle flame ears, elegant and compact.
Another young animal here, looks like a little old man. Starbeck Crystal Song is a 16-month-old Griffon Bruxellois bitch, owned by Mrs. Fenn of East Sussex.
Ah, well, this was one of the best of the group, in my opinion. Typical of all this owner's stock. She's cobby, firmly built, and simply oozing personality. There's nothing toyish about this one, just a lot of dog in a tight pack.
Now this is one of the truly pretty little dogs, a Japanese Chin, 3-year-old bitch owned by Mr. and Mrs. Miller from Roxburgh up in Scotland. It's known as Addisley Yakety of Turnlaw.
And it's very typical of its breed because it's got these wide-set eyes with a flash of white at the inner corners, making him look permanently surprised. And he's a very, very true mover for such a small dog.
This isn't the same dog. The ears actually give it away. It's Champion Caswell Principality, a 3-year-old Papillon, this time co-owned by Messrs. Billinghurst and Foster from Essex.
It's a dainty, well-balanced dog with big round-tipped ears at 45 degrees to the head and the wide blades between the eyes like the wings and body of the butterfly from which it gets its name.
Now, all EastEnders fans will recognise a pug, but this isn't Little Willie. It's Keijon Yakima, an 18-month-old dog owned by Mr. and Mrs. Timms of South Yorkshire.
For me, another of the best in this group. Lovely head with its dark mask. Absolutely no problem with breathing and a really powerful mover. Wouldn't it be nice if all pugs were quite as fit, because they're all extroverts?
So these were the 8 that Ellis Hume decided he wanted a further look at to pick his best of group. The Bichon Frise, the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, the smooth-coated Chihuahua, Chinese crested dog, the Maltese, the Pekingese, the Pomeranian and the Yorkshire Terrier. And he gave them a really good looking over. I think he'd already made his decision as he makes a very positive move in now towards the Pekingese. Champion Yaki for your eyes only, known as James, handled by his co-owner Bert Easton from Glasgow. And the reserve went to the smooth-coated Chihuahua, Champion Ballybrook, Miles Better. Were you expecting the judge to pull you out from that group just now?
I was hoping.
You were hoping, so not too much of a surprise.
No, I was surprised.
How does the dog actually enjoy these shows?
Yes, he loves going to shows.
Yeah. He looks very cheerful now, and it's a long day for a dog with such a big coat.
It's a very long day and it's very hot for the dog, and I'm very pleased he's behaved so well.
Congratulations. Good luck in the final six.
Thank you.
Well, someone who comes to Crufts to look at dogs with an artistic eye rather than that of a judge or a professional breeder is Julie Brennan. She has the lovely job of being able to paint dogs for a living, and that includes family pets, mongrels, as well as champions. But of course, all the bustle and the crowds and the noise here at Earl's Court are a long way from the peace and quiet of her studio in the heart of the Northamptonshire countryside.
I always wanted to paint, I know that. And when I left school, for various reasons, I didn't go to art school. I started sketching and drawing animals, specifically dogs, in my spare time. Somebody one day bought one, and that was it, I was away. I go along and meet the dog, meet the owners, try and find out what they feel about painting, what they feel about their dogs, I'm always interested to know why people have the dog they do. And then I make some sketches, come back to the studio and do some more finished drawings, often showing them to the owner. and then we go on from there. If everybody's happy, we go on from there. I normally like about 6 weeks to complete the commission from the first time I've seen the dog to the finished painting. The idea of having the opportunity of painting the supreme champion of the most prestigious dog show in the world really did appeal to me. And I wrote to a certain pet food company, and they said, yes, let's try it. And that was 10 years ago, and I painted each one since.
Well, this is how Julie depicted the winner in 1988, Bonnie, the English setter. This year, it's Cassie, that super bearded collie, who'll be in the frame. Well, now it's the turn of the utility group, and you know, this is quite a difficult group to define, as I found even when you asked the judges, but it seems that the best description is to say that a utility dog is one that doesn't fit into one of the other 5 classifications. That is, it isn't a gun dog, a working dog, a hound, a terrier, or a toy. You can see what I mean now that they're lined up in the main arena. There were over 1,700 dogs in this group, representing 23 separate breeds. The judge is Mrs. Anne Wynyard, who was the first ever secretary of the British Utility Breeds Association, and her own special interests lie with Labradors and Tibetan Spaniels, but obviously she's very familiar with all of these different breeds. Some very big entries in this group. There were more than 150 Lhasa Apsos, while Schnauzers, Chow Chows and Dalmatians were just 3 breeds to attract more than 100 entries. So there's very strong competition to win through to this group judging. And we know then that we're looking at some very fine dogs indeed.
That's a lovely Akisa standing there, isn't it?
It was interesting that Mrs. Wynyard took a very long look at the dogs when they were in their very first lineup before she had an opportunity of examining them individually, and then later she went down the line yet again, so she wanted to be absolutely sure, didn't she, Mike?
Yep. Well, there's some pretty top winners there, and that's a very, very handsome standard poodle.
Do the judges feel the pressure that's on them when the ring, Mike, or are they so involved in what they're doing that really they're sort of on their own?
Oh, I think it gets to you. It doesn't matter how clever you are. There's very few people who can do this sort of thing in a professional way without letting it get to them.
What a very pretty little dog that is.
There's her own breed, the Tibetan Spaniel.
Well, let's take a look at some of those dogs in a little more detail, starting with the one that's supposed to represent our national characteristics, being dependable, courageous and strong, the British Bulldog. This one appropriately named Pack-a-Punch Our Boy Max.
And, of course, known in the trade as Old Sour Mug, although you couldn't find a more friendly rogue. The face was designed to give him breathing space when he was a working chap.
Champion Pagan Pepperpot, representing the Dalmatians. The spots were supposed to be no smaller than 6p and no larger than ½ a crown, but of course since decimalisation that's a penny to 50p.
This is the traditional carriage dog and as such a non-stop mover both in legs and tail. The friendliest of fellows. If you like a long distance walk, this is just the fellow for you.
The German Spitzklein, Cuchillo Pearly King, the pride of Mrs. Vines from Evesham.
Yeah, and this is the smaller of the 2 German Spitz, 9 to 11 inches at the shoulder. A typical Spitz, can be any colour. He's the high-set and well-curled tail and a typical brisk Spitz movement.
Now a dog off the Flemish canal boats, the Schipperke, champion Linderi Nevada of Flocktons.
And this fellow actually was imported. Another of the Spitz type, but up till now unusual in not keeping his tail. They're black usually, or a fawn gold. There's a lot of power in a little package.
In Tibet, these little dogs guarded the monasteries and helped turn the prayer wheels. The Tibetan Spaniel, champion Tsingay Tango, the best of 140 entries.
That's a delightful, gay little dog with a head small in proportion to his body. He resembles the original Pekingese, and he's never been allowed to become exaggerated.
There were only 3 Leonbergers in the show, and this one represents the breed having won the any other variety class. She's Bessemer of Roswick.
Angela, I was quite delighted to see this bitch in the ring. She's a well-loved patient of mine, and her owner was over the moon to be in the big ring. I thought she was a great ambassadress for a newish breed.
Well, 8 dogs were lined up for a closer examination. There's the Chow Chow and the Japanese Akita. Not all that well known perhaps, but 93 qualified for Crufts this year. The Lhasa Apso made it through to the last 8, and a representative of each of the 3 poodle groups, the miniature, the standard and the toy. The judge also liked the Schnauzer, Sidley's Dutch barge master, top dog in its breed for the past 3 years, and the little Shih Tzu. So those were the 8, and certainly Mrs. Wynyard took a long time over her decision. But it was a definite point to the middle, which indicated that the winner was the standard poodle, champion Davlin the Beloved, in the spotlight. While the reserve rosette goes to the Lhasa Apso. Chris, there are tears. I hope they're tears of joy.
Oh, they are, definitely.
A very emotional moment.
It is, very. I didn't expect anything like this.
You obviously came here, though, hoping for something very special.
I just come to enjoy my day and show my dog off. I didn't expect anything at all.
So this is the most successful day you've ever had at a show?
I've never done anything like this, like Crufts, never.
So how are you looking forward to Sunday?
Dread, I think.
But it'll be a great day. We wish you a lot of luck.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Unmistakably a gun dog, the Labrador Retriever. But he's not been judged in show. He's part of an excellent demonstration by the Essex Field Trials Society. Now, his name is Merston Laser. He's only 9 months old. And this extract shows part of the training the puppy undergoes, with owner Stan Harvey preventing the puppy from retrieving a dummy. And in just a moment, he will throw more dummies and instruct Laser that this time he must go and fetch. Brilliant control, very young animal, off he goes. At this stage, the puppy hasn't learnt that he has to sit when he presents, but his owner gives him plenty of praise because Laser's done the retrieve beautifully. Now we're going to see an excellent demonstration of retrieving dummies hidden in cover. This is Corbiere, a golden retriever, almost 4 years old. Now the cover is really dense there. You can see the dummy. And Corbiere is neither a dummy nor dense. She bored her way through and now brings the dummy back to owner June Atkinson. Now the next demonstration we're going to see is remarkable. 2 Springer Spaniels and a Cocker face 2 Labradors and a Golden Retriever. After the guns are fired and the dummies are thrown, the retrievers will be sent to retrieve through the Spaniels and vice versa. Now, I promise you, you'll see no better control of working gun dogs than this.
When you're ready, Ron. There goes the Labrador, there goes the Springer.
And this performance, in absolutely impossible conditions, tremendous distractions, really charmed this huge audience around the main arena.
How's that, ladies and gentlemen, for a scoop?
Brilliant stuff. So from the gun dog demonstration, we go over to possibly what the huge audience here really come to see, and that is the gun dog group judging, the last of the 6 groups in this year's show. And this is one of the 62 Italian Spinonis that we're here. It won its breed, Westoy Tribal Custom, a 2-year-old bitch owned by Mr. and Mrs. Blacklock from Ponteland up in Northumberland.
A fairly newly introduced multi-purpose breed, been here since 1981, gaining ground rapidly. You can see it's got a bit of hound in its makeup, and it's also capable of guarding.
Another dog, 3 years old, from Newcastle on Tyne, same area, show champion Gemus Troubadour, owned by Dr. and Mrs. Robson. It's a large Munsterlander.
Well, large may be, but never heavy. It's another relative newcomer coming on by leaps and bounds. A good water dog, ideal for the rough shoot, as well as being an ideal companion for the very energetic. The blackhead is characteristic, and it's customarily undocked.
This lovely Clumber Spaniel is called Tweedsmuir True Blue. It's a 2-year-old dog owned by Mr. and Mrs. Monaghan from Huntingdon.
Obviously the heaviest of the spaniels, possibly too much so, but this chap didn't seem to have much problem driving round the ring. He's got a thick, powerful neck which he needs to cope with that massive head. In fact, he's power all round with his deep chest and broad back and loin.
And what a contrast, another spaniel, the Irish water version this time. Ringstone Eula is a bitch, almost 3 years old, owned by Mrs. Williams from Prudhoe in Northumberland.
Yes, a very unusual one, this, with a barrelly body and that waterproof coat of crisp ringlets all over him, except on the lower part of the tail, which is practically bare.
This is the Weimaraner, show champion, the Statesman from Chalinar, 5.5-year-old dog, owned by Mr. Lucas from New Cross here in London.
Distinctive in that silver grey coat with those unusual amber eyes. Look at that aristocratic head, the clean-cut neck, the deep chest, well-sprung ribs extending well back. The tail is docked fairly long. Another true hunt, point and retrieve breed, and hunting ability is of paramount importance, and the movement's got to be good.
Sonnenberg Viking is a bitch, almost 5 years old, Brittany, owned by Mrs. Reeves from Pershaw in Worcester.
They come from France, where they were first recognised in 1901, another of the hunt, point and retrieve breeds. Very square in the ratio of height to length of back, and an unusually short neck. Relatively light bone, elegant, with a short striding gait.
Judge Olga Hampton, very fond of the spaniel breed. She first bred spaniels back in 1937. But from this large group, she's picked out, well, how could she resist, last year's best in show, the English setter, and the German short-haired pointer. Out of 274 Irish setters, what a beauty. And this pointer, look at that lovely stride. There were 264 Labradors, this one came out. She also liked the American Cocker Spaniel, so did the crowd. And an unusual choice here, the Field Spaniel. So 7 animals taken out for a closer look by Olga Hampton. Obviously, she didn't find her task here very easy. She took a long time, checking along the line, looking again and again. A difficult decision for her, Mike.
I don't think I'd have enjoyed this job at all, because they're really a lovely group. It's always a tight group, the gun dog group. I think she likes her setter.
Also went back to check the pointer. I don't think she doubted which one she was going to pick for the first prize there. The best in the group, the Irish setter, Reddins Ferdinand, known as Ferdy, with owner Jim Smith from Hartfield in Sussex. And the reason she looked again at the pointer was because that pointer was getting the reserve. Show champion Pipeaway Scritty Polity. Jim, many congratulations.
Thank you very much indeed.
You surprised?
Very surprised. Didn't you be?
You must have come along with great hopes, though.
No, I came along hoping the dog would show himself to his best, and that's what he's done.
This obviously is the biggest moment for him and for you.
Oh yes, very much so.
How do you see his chances now against the other 5?
I'm not thinking about that.
You're thrilled.
I'm happy for this, and I'll go in and do my best, and that'll be it.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Well, here in the collecting ring, 5 of the 6 finalists for the Supreme Championship have been waiting for at least 2 hours or so. But now, of course, they're about to be joined by the 6th finalist, the Irish setter that's just been chosen the winner of the gun dog group. Now, you would expect that emotions would really be running high, but I have to tell you, it has been so calm in this collecting ring for the last hour or so, because I think everybody has really sort of got over their excitement of winning their individual groups. They've come back today, they're very calm, they've got their dogs ready, they're now standing in the tunnel waiting to be called into the main arena. But I really do have a feeling that once they go in on that green carpet in front of a capacity 2,500 crowd, then the adrenaline will really start to run, the blood will be up, because within just a few moments, one of these dogs is going to be supreme champion at Crufts for 1989. And first into the ring comes the utility group winner, the Standard Poodle.
From the Gun Dog Group, we've just seen him, we're glad to see him again.
Followed by the Gun Dog Group winner, the Irish Setter.
From the Working Group, the Bearded Collie.
The Bearded Collie, winner of the Working Dog Group.
From the Hound Group, the Elk Hound.
Representing the Hounds, the Elk Hound.
From the Terrier Group, the Staffordshire Bull Terrier.
And then the Staffordshire Bull Terrier bounds into the ring for the Terrier Group.
And from the Toy Group, the Pekingese.
Followed at a rather more sedate pace by the winner of the Toy Group, the Pekingese. Well, every one of those dogs was given a thorough individual examination by the judge, Mr. Lionel Hamilton Rennick, before he sent them off around the ring for one more burst of exuberance, a last chance for the dogs to really make an impression.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Standard Poodle from the Utility Group.
Well, the Poodle set off at a cracking pace.
Isn't that going? By Jove.
And the Irish Setter.
Just perhaps beginning to feel the heat because it's been there quite a long time.
Followed by the Bearded Collie.
Now, what a picture that is, that wonderful coat rippling in the breeze.
From the Hound Group, the Elk Hound.
This Elk Hound, I judged her when she was only a baby, and she's still not much more than a puppy, perhaps just a bit young for this year.
The Staffy, again, still a very young dog and not at all fazed by the occasion. He's just enjoying every minute.
Springs themselves.
And finally, the Pekingese, making a rather regal approach to the final line.
Let's have the encouragement, ladies and gentlemen.
You know, it's interesting that this lineup of 6 dogs includes 4 breeds that have never been Supreme Champion at Crufts. The Bearded Collie, the Elk Hound, the Staffordshire and the Peak. So one of them knows they could make history. And it's the Bearded Collie, champion Potterdale Classic of Moonhill, or Cassie. She knows she's won, up onto the podium, and hugs and kisses all round for her owner, Brenda White. What a picture. And the reserve Best in Show title goes to Scotland via Yaki For Your Eyes Only, the Pekingese. Well, no one ever likes to be overconfident and say they're going to win, but you and Cassie were so calm today. What does this mean to you?
Well, it might have looked calm from the outside, but I don't think it was on the inside. But, oh, what can I say? It's everybody's dream, whoever shows the dog, to win Best in Show at Crufts, and we've done it, and it hasn't quite sunk in, but everybody's support, I'm just really trying to relish every minute and remember it, because it's a marvellous thing to do.
It is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Do you think these moments are going to stay with you?
Oh, of course, yes, definitely. For my life, yes, absolutely wonderful.
You did say, Cassie never lets me down.
No, she doesn't, does she? And she's done it. She could have done it on her own, to be honest. She doesn't need me.
Well, there you see the winner of the Supreme Championship here at Crufts for 1989. Well, the photographers are now moving in, and behind all of that crowd of flash guns and press people, it's going to be a day to remember for Brenda White and for her dog, Cassie. She will never forget it. I hope you've enjoyed sharing the moment with us too.
But we haven't actually finished with Crufts for this year. On Sunday, if you care to join me on BBC 2 at 4:30 in the afternoon, you can see all the action from the main ring, from the agility and the obedience. I hope you'll join me. From Angela and me and the whole team here at Crufts 89. Goodbye.
Goodbye.